Hey everyone, and welcome back. We're diving deep today.
Into
Into a question that I think really weighs on anyone who's ever felt like they're fighting for their marriage alone.
Oh, absolutely.
Can you actually save a marriage when it feels like you're the only one trying?
It's such a tough question and
It is
can be so isolating.
really isolating.
Feeling like you're carrying the whole weight of the relationship.
Yeah, you're right. It is. And that's where the source material for this deep dive comes in.
Okay.
We're taking a look at Save the Marriage. You can save your marriage, even if only you want to,
Interesting.
by Dr. Lee H. Baucom. Now he's a relationship coach
Okay.
who presents this kind of unconventional approach to saving marriages, even when it seems like you're
Yeah.
facing these like impossible odds.
Right. He really challenges a lot of the traditional thinking around couples therapy
He does.
and makes some pretty bold claims
He does.
about the potential for turning things around,
Yeah.
even when one partner is completely checked out.
It's like the book opens with this like
I know.
pretty dramatic story
It's a hook,
about a couple, Kelly and Greg,
right?
who are literally on their way to sign divorce papers
Wow.
when they made this last-minute decision
Okay.
to visit Dr. Baucom's office instead.
Oh, wow, like a movie.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's
Sets the stage.
really sets the stage for this idea
Yeah.
that even at the last possible moment,
When all hope seems lost.
there might still be a chance
Yeah.
to salvage things.
To salvage the relationship. And according to Dr. Baucom, that's exactly what happened with Kelly and Greg.
Really?
He says within weeks of working with him, they went from
Okay.
constant arguments and just no intimacy at all
Wow.
to rekindled connection.
That's a huge shift.
They even ended up having a recommitment ceremony.
Oh, wow.
It's compelling,
It is.
and it's just one couple's experience, but
Sure.
it kind of speaks to Dr. Baucom's core belief
Right.
that this transformation is possible,
Even when things look really bad.
beyond repair.
Yeah.
But here's where it gets interesting.
Okay.
Dr. Baucom is pretty critical of traditional marriage therapy.
Interesting.
He argues that the strategies are outdated and ineffective and points to the fact that the success rate is only about 20%.
Wow, that's low.
Yeah, he doesn't mince words about what he sees as the problem.
Right.
He believes that the emphasis on communication skills,
Okay.
which is like a cornerstone of a lot of therapy,
Mm-hmm.
that's actually
I'm
a
backfired.
Band-Aid solution
Yeah.
and can backfire in these really troubled marriages.
So rather than kind of fixing the root of the problem, it's just putting a little covering over it.
Exactly.
Interesting.
He advocates instead for what he calls relationship judo,
Relationship judo.
which is this idea of leveraging negative energy
Okay.
to shift the entire dynamic of the relationship.
That's pretty different from just trying to talk it out.
I know, it's an interesting concept.
It is.
And it really ties into this idea that you as an individual
Ab-
have the power to transform the relationship,
Yeah.
even if your partner seems to have given up completely.
Okay. I like that.
So how does he suggest we go about this transformation?
Yeah. How do we do it?
Well, he lays out what he calls the 4 damaging myths about saving your marriage.
Okay.
And these are the beliefs that he says we really need to abandon
Mm-hmm.
if we want to create real, lasting change.
Yeah. I think especially if someone's feeling alone in this, these myths can really
Oh, yeah.
make it so much harder.
Fuel that sense of hopelessness.
Yeah.
Okay, so myth number 1
Okay.
is you need to learn more communication skills.
Okay.
And we've kind of touched on this already.
Yeah.
But Dr. Baucom is really adamant that this is often a recipe for disaster.
So it's not as simple as like learning how to have a conversation
No,
or
it's
just
not.
the right things to say.
Right. He argues that like simply improving communication
Right.
can lead to couples becoming more skilled at arguing.
Oh, so they can just argue better?
Yeah, they might be able to articulate their frustrations more clearly,
Right.
but that doesn't necessarily mean they're actually resolving
Right.
the underlying issue.
It's not actually solving the problem.
And in fact, sometimes it makes it worse.
Yeah.
So it's not just about saying the right things, it's about understanding
Right.
the deeper dynamics at play
Yeah.
and learning how to shift those dynamics.
Okay, I'm with you.
That leads us to myth number 2.
Okay, what is it?
There is only one path from the brink of divorce to marital bliss.
Hmm.
And this one resonates with me because I think we often get caught up in this idea
Right.
that there's this one-size-fits-all solution.
Like a recipe.
Exactly, to relationship problems.
Huh.
Dr. Baucom rejects that completely.
Okay.
He claims to have identified 8 distinct stages of marital crisis,
8.
each requiring a different approach.
Wow.
So it's not about following some generic roadmap.
Right.
It's about understanding where you are
Yeah.
on that journey and tailoring your efforts accordingly.
Okay.
It's like having a customized map for your relationship.
Oh, I like that.
Okay, myth number 3.
Lay it on me.
You can't start saving your marriage if your spouse isn't interested.
Okay.
This is where he really throws down the gauntlet.
This is a big one.
He claims his techniques work even when your partner seems totally checked out,
Wow.
even if they're the one who initiated the divorce proceedings,
So you really can save your marriage
single-handedly.
if your partner's not interested.
That's precisely his claim.
That's a bold statement.
Yeah, and it's a bold one. He
It-
argues that his relationship judo techniques can shift the energy,
Right.
even when only one person is actively trying.
Okay.
I'm intrigued, but also a little skeptical.
Me too.
Sounds almost too good to be true.
Right?
Okay, so myth number 4.
What's the last one?
This one's a classic,
Okay.
and I think we've all fallen prey to it at some point. Time heals all.
Ooh, yeah, that's a good one.
Let's just sweep it under the rug.
And hope it magically fixes itself.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But he argues that this is wishful thinking,
Of course.
and that inaction often allows those negative patterns to solidify
Yeah.
and become even more entrenched.
You have to take action.
Yeah, stresses the importance of taking action
Right.
before those patterns become so ingrained that they're almost impossible to break.
Oh, so you really have to get on it.
Yeah, so it's not about passively waiting for things to get better
Right.
on their own.
You have power.
You have the power to influence the direction of your relationship,
Yeah.
even if your partner's not actively
Participating.
in the process.
Okay, I'm getting it.
And that's where his concept of the anatomy of a marital crisis comes in.
Okay.
He argues that most marriages don't die from this huge catastrophic event,
Right.
but from neglect,
Okay.
this gradual erosion of connection
Just kind of drifting apart.
over time.
Yeah.
It's not always about infidelity or some major blow-up,
Right.
but more of a slow, insidious drift apart.
Yeah, like the opposite of love is not hate, it's indifference.
Right.
And that's really scary.
He cites research indicating that the average couple spends less than 4 minutes per day
What?
discussing meaningful issues outside of
Oh my God.
schedules and children.
4 minutes.
4 minutes.
Oh, wow.
Think about that.
No, no.
It's 4 minutes.
That's really sobering.
I think a lot of people listening can probably relate to that.
Totally.
Life gets busy work.
Yeah.
Kids demand our attention.
For sure.
And sometimes those crucial conversations
Right.
about our relationship get pushed
To the side.
to the back burner.
Yeah.
And that's where the real damage occurs.
Okay.
When one partner wants to connect to grow to make things better,
Yeah.
but the other is resistant or disengaged,
Uh-huh.
it creates this growing sense of frustration and resentment
Oh, yeah.
that can poison the whole relationship.
Absolutely.
So it's not necessarily about agreeing on every single thing,
Right.
but about being willing to work together,
Yes.
to hear each other's needs,
To find a way forward.
and to find a way to move forward together.
I like that.
That's the key.
It is.
He emphasizes the importance of recognizing these patterns
Right.
and understanding how they contribute to the stages of crisis that he outlines in his book.
Okay.
He argues that a marriage can fall apart in countless ways,
Right.
but the path back to recovery is, in fact, predictable. So there's hope.
It's like he's created this map that can guide you back from the brink,
Yeah.
even if you feel completely lost.
Okay.
Speaking of maps, he uses this interesting analogy.
Okay, what is it?
He compares it to a map where there might be various starting points and different routes,
Uh-huh.
but they all ultimately lead to the same interstate and the same destination.
Okay.
So despite the unique circumstances of each couple,
Yeah.
the underlying principles of repair and reconnection can be universally applied.
I like that.
Yeah, it's a great way to visualize it.
It is. And it's fascinating here, Dr. Baucom's not just talking about avoiding divorce.
Right. He's talking about creating a marriage that not only survives, but thrives.
Yeah.
He believes you can build a relationship that surpasses your initial expectations.
So it's not just about putting the pieces back together.
No.
It's about creating something
Even better.
stronger and more beautiful
Yeah,
than what you had before.
exactly. He uses this term exceptional marriage
Okay.
to describe this ideal state
Uh-huh.
where couples experience a deep connection, fulfillment, shared purpose.
Okay, that sounds amazing. But let's be realistic for a moment.
Sure.
If you're feeling alone in this fight for your marriage, the idea of an exceptional marriage,
Yeah.
might feel like a distant fantasy.
Right.
So how does Dr. Bauman bridge that gap
Right.
between the pain of the present and the hope for the future?
Well, he does that by providing a system,
Okay.
a step-by-step approach
Mm-hmm.
that he claims has helped tons of couples
Okay.
achieve these remarkable turnarounds.
Even when only one partner was initially committed to saving the marriage.
In-
And that system is what he calls the Save the Marriage system.
Yes, and it's designed to be like this really comprehensive guide
Right.
for navigating all the complexities of
Right.
marital crisis and rebuilding that foundation.
And we talked about those 4 damaging myths earlier.
Yeah.
And it seems like debunking those myths is a key part of his approach.
It really is. He wants to dismantle those beliefs
right.
that keep people stuck
Yeah.
in those negative cycles and replace them with this more empowered mindset.
Where individuals recognize their own agency
Exactly.
and ability to create change.
Yeah, you're not just waiting for your partner to change.
Right.
You're focusing on what you can control.
You have the power to influence the relationship.
Precisely. And he argues that just by shifting your own internal world, you can create a ripple effect
Wow.
that impacts the whole relationship.
That's powerful.
It is.
So you're not just a passive victim
No.
in this situation.
You're an active participant.
You have the power to create change,
Yes.
even if it feels like you're the only one trying.
Exactly. And that's why he focuses on personal growth and self-awareness, understanding your own patterns, your triggers, your contributions to the dynamic,
Okay.
so you can make more conscious choices.
That lead to positive change.
Yes,
I can see how that would be crucial,
it is.
but also sounds like a lot of work,
It does require effort and commitment.
especially if you're already feeling overwhelmed and emotionally drained
Of course.
from the strain of a struggling marriage.
But he argues that the payoff is worth it.
Okay.
He believes that that process of personal growth, while it's challenging,
Yeah.
can lead to a much deeper sense of fulfillment.
Both within the relationship
Yes.
and in your life as a whole.
Exactly. So it's not just about fixing the marriage.
It's about becoming a better version of yourself.
Yes, and that can be contagious.
Oh, how so?
As you start showing up differently,
Right.
your partner might be inspired to do the same.
It's like, be the change you want to see,
Exactly.
but applying to your marriage.
Right.
I like that. And he provides a lot of practical tools and techniques
He does.
in his Save the Marriage system
Right.
to help you do that,
Facilitate that growth.
create those positive shifts.
Yes.
So let's talk about the system itself.
Okay.
What does it actually entail?
Right.
I know we mentioned the 4 modules.
Yeah.
But can you give us a little more detail
Sure.
about what each one covers?
So Module 1 is all about damage control.
Okay.
It's about understanding those initial reactions that
Like
can actually make things worse.
when your partner wants out.
Yeah. So you're learning what not to do
In those early stages
in those critical early stages.
of a marital crisis.
Exactly. He talks about avoiding common mistakes, like begging, pleading,
Okay.
trying to reason with your partner when they're really emotional.
When they're not thinking clearly.
Yeah, instead, he says, create space
Okay.
for calm and understanding.
Even if you're freaking out inside.
Right, even if you're feeling panicked.
That sounds so hard.
It is. But he argues that those reactions
Yeah.
are driven by fear and insecurity,
Okay.
and they tend to push your partner further away.
So you're saying that by taking a more grounded approach,
Yes.
you can actually create an environment.
That's more conducive to reconciliation.
Okay, so it's about responding
Yes.
rather than reacting.
Even when it feels like your world is ending.
And that's where Module 2 comes in.
Right. This module helps you diagnose the specific stage your marriage is in and provides a tailored path based on that.
So this is where those 8 stages come into play.
Exactly.
You figure out where you are.
On that map.
On the map.
And get guidance
Okay.
on how to navigate that.
It's like having a personalized roadmap for your marriage.
And then Module 3
Yes.
delves into what he calls the core secrets of a successful marriage.
This is where he gets into the nitty-gritty of building a strong and fulfilling relationship.
I think this is the one that's going to be most relevant for someone who's feeling alone.
To someone feeling alone in their efforts.
It's about understanding those fundamental principles.
Regardless of whether your partner's on board or not.
Exactly.
What are some examples of those core secrets?
He talks about the importance of emotional intimacy, effective communication, conflict resolution skills, shared values. He also emphasizes the need for couples to prioritize their relationship.
Make time for each other.
Yes, even when life gets busy.
So it's about nurturing the connection.
even when you feel like you're the only one tending the garden.
And he provides specific exercises
Yeah.
to help you cultivate those elements.
He does.
Okay. And then finally, Module 4.
Module 4 is the action plan. It's where he brings everything together and provides a step-by-step guide to rebuilding, including specific advice on what to do, what to say, what to avoid.
So it's like the blueprint for putting it all into practice.
Yes, he covers everything from how to start those difficult conversations to how to rebuild trust and intimacy.
Does he give, like, specific examples?
He even provides scripts.
Wow.
For specific scenarios, which can be so helpful.
It sounds very comprehensive.
It is.
I'm starting to see why he claims such a high success rate.
Yeah, he claims that 89.7%.
89.7%.
Of the couples who go through his system.
That's a huge difference.
It is.
From that 20% we talked about earlier.
Yes, right.
Of course, we always encourage our listeners to be discerning.
Of course.
With any self-help program.
Right.
To do their own research.
Absolutely.
But it's still interesting to consider.
It is.
The principles he's presenting.
Yeah.
And the potential for positive change.
And it's important to remember that even if your partner's not initially on board, you can still benefit.
From the personal growth.
Yes.
And the insights that come from working through this system.
It's about empowering yourself and taking ownership of your own happiness.
Regardless of the outcome.
Exactly.
And that brings us back to Kelly and Greg.
Oh, right.
The couple who were on their way to divorce court.
Yeah.
Before they decided to give Dr. Baucom's system a try.
I was wondering if we'd circle back to them.
Yeah.
It's easy to get caught up in the details.
And forget about the human element.
Yes. Their story's a powerful reminder that even in the toughest situations, hope's not lost.
The transformation is possible.
When we're willing to do the work, even if it feels like we're alone.
So what happened to them?
Well, he mentions that they ended up having a recommitment ceremony.
Recommitment ceremony.
To celebrate their anniversary.
Oh, wow.
And reaffirm their vows.
So not just patching things up.
No, they were choosing each other.
Actively choosing each other.
And choosing to invest in the future.
It's a beautiful testament to the power of transformation.
And the possibility of creating something even stronger.
After a crisis.
Yeah.
It's a message of hope.
For anyone who's feeling lost and alone.
It's a reminder that even when the odds seem stacked against you,
there's always a chance for a happy ending.
Now, of course, it's important to remember.
Yes.
That Kelly and Greg's story is just one example.
Of course.
And not every couple will experience the same outcome.
Right.
But it does offer a glimmer of hope.
It does.
And a reminder that miracles can happen.
And those miracles often start with a willingness to take that first step.
To reach out for help.
To commit to that process of growth and transformation.
Right. And it's about remembering that you're not alone in this.
You're not.
There are resources available.
There are.
Like Dr. Baucom's system.
And many others.
That can provide guidance and support.
Absolutely. And even if you don't choose his specific program, there are therapists, coaches, support groups.
It's about finding what works for you.
And your unique situation.
And being open to exploring
different approaches.
And it's about remembering that the most important relationship
is the one you have with yourself.
That's such an important point.
It is.
Because your own sense of self-worth should never be contingent
on a relationship.
On the success or failure of a relationship.
You deserve to be happy and fulfilled.
No matter what.
No matter what.
Well said. So, as we wrap up this part of our deep dive.
Okay.
I'd like to leave our listeners with a question to ponder.
I'm listening.
Could Dr. Baucom's system, with his unconventional approach and emphasis on personal transformation, be the key to unlocking a happier and more fulfilling marriage for you?
Even if you feel like you're the only one fighting for it.
Exactly.
That's a great question.
It is.
And only you can answer it.
That's true.
But I encourage you to be open to the possibility.
Yeah.
To explore the resources and to trust in your own ability to create the kind of relationship you deserve.
Beautifully said. And if you're curious to learn more
about the Save the Marriage system, be sure to check out the link in the description.
You can find a link to his website. Read testimonials.
And access some free resources.
And as always, we encourage you to do your own research.
Yes.
Be discerning.
About the information you find.
And find what resonates with you.
Your unique situation.
Because ultimately, the best expert on your relationship is you.
Well said. You know, while we've been talking about the success stories and, all the positive change, it's important to remember that his system might not be for everyone.
That's true. Not every approach works for every person.
Right.
There's no magic bullet
No.
when it comes to relationships.
Some people might find his approach a little too unconventional or...
They're a little too optimistic.
Yeah, especially if they're really hurting.
Especially if they're feeling betrayed by their partner.
And it's also worth noting that even if you do try his system, it's not a quick fix.
No, it takes work.
It requires effort, commitment, and a willingness to really look at yourself.
Yeah, examine your own role in the relationship.
Exactly. It's not about blaming yourself.
Right, or taking all the responsibility.
But taking ownership.
But recognizing that you do have the power to influence change.
Even if it feels like you're starting with yourself.
And that's a really empowering message.
It is.
Especially for anyone feeling stuck.
Or helpless.
It reminds us that we have choices.
We can create a better future.
Regardless of what our partners do.
And even if the marriage doesn't work out, the journey of personal growth and self-discovery
can be so valuable.
Is so valuable.
It's about becoming the best version of yourself in the relationship and as an individual.
Exactly. And that will benefit you no matter what.
Yeah, I think we've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive.
We have.
I hope our listeners have found it insightful.
Me too.
And maybe even inspiring.
It's a fascinating topic.
It is. And before we wrap up, I want to remind everyone that we've only scratched the surface
of the Save the Marriage system.
If you're interested in learning more, be sure to check out the link in the description.
There's a link to his website.
You can explore the program in more detail.
Read testimonials.
Access some free resources.
And as always,
do your own research.
Be discerning
about the information you find.
And find what resonates with you.
Because ultimately, the best expert on your relationship is you.
Well said.
And on that note, we'll wrap up this episode of The Deep Dive.
Thanks for joining us.
We'll see you next time for another Deep Dive.
Until then, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep diving deep.